Good afternoon, everyone. Kids spend way too much time on electronics, and I know that we all have electronics at our house, some of them for ourselves and a lot of it for our children. Electronics are an easy way to keep our kids busy when we have something to do, when we need to get something done. It just keeps their mind occupied, and it's kind of like an electronic babysitter almost. Little do we realize that when we're doing this, we're actually creating a bad habit for the child, and we're actually doing harm to their health physically and mentally. There are other ways to keep children away from electronics and to keep them busy besides the electronics. Kids are finding ways to use electronics all the time in everyday activities with everything that they do. Little do they realize that, of course, this affects their health. Seattle's Children's Research Institute stated that 90% of children start watching TV regularly and using electronics by the age of 2. Results from the National Kids Survey, they also say that electronics are the most common reason why children are not spending any time outside at all. The National Sleep Foundation, they concluded that 72% of kids sleep with at least one electronic device next to them in their bed. So whether it's an iPad, an iPod, a laptop, or a little mini TV, or whatever, they are sleeping with something. When they do that, it typically results in 30 minutes to an hour of less sleep than the recommended 8 to 11 hours, depending on the child's age. Less sleep, of course, will affect the child's health. We need to find other ways to have children stay active and be active besides using electronic devices. The Institute of Medicine recommends that parents encourage their children to participate in a physical activity such as sports or in some form of exercise. Keeping the child busy with physical activity will keep them from using electronics less each day. And if they're not able to participate in a physical activity or in some form of exercise, you can use board games, word puzzles. You can also use some card games too, just to kind of keep them going if they always want to have something to do. The benefits of keeping the child away from the electronic devices and keeping them active, as like physically active, physical activity actually lowers the rates for most chronic diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and for some it could be for some cancers eventually. This was actually coming from a guy named Peter Rayburn, and he did this in an article called Nursing Research and Reviews. We're only doing the child good by enforcing good habits and good ways to be more active and to use electronic devices less often. Once we realize that we're doing this, then it will be a lot easier in the long run. We need to create a schedule for our children so that way they spend less time on electronics and that they spend more time on physical activity or doing other things besides concentrating so much on that. It will improve them and it will make them healthier physically and mentally. It's very important to realize that sooner or later, if we do not teach children have the healthy habits on spending less on electronics and more on physical activity, then of course they're going to be less healthy. I'm not saying that they're not going to be less healthy. They will be less healthy than the child that is being more physically active. It's very important to create a healthy schedule for the children, create healthy habits. That way, the sooner that you can create these healthy habits, a lot better off they'll be when they go into adulthood, and then they can practice these habits when they grow up as adults. I hope that this has helped, and I hope that you've seen my side of it and what I've been researching and seeing. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.